Peace, family. My name is Jabbar Lance Brown, and today we got a very special episode for you guys. Still King. This is going to be a celebratory tribute show to the one and only Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. But before we get into the episode for the day, make sure that you guys click that QR code up at the top left-hand corner, scan it, get on the waiting list for the Manhood Mentor Agency. This is where we're going to have over 21 courses aimed at helping you be more successful into adulthood, right? We're going to have information helping you to qualify for a car, an apartment, a house. If you're having challenges with your credit, we're going to have information helping you to remove, reestablish, and restore your credit profile. And if you're not having any trouble with your credit and or you've graduated through the previous lessons, now we're going to have options for you to get funding and acquire the capital necessary to help you move forward with your investments. So make sure that you click that QR code, scan it, get on the waiting list, and when the courses are uploaded and ready to go, you're going to be the first one to know. So without further ado, hello, let's get into the lesson for the day. Still King. Oh yes, Still King. Dr. King has created a life and a legacy worth honoring. This man has done tremendous things, not only for Foundation of Black Americans, but for all people. And today we're going to honor his legacy in this tribute show. So a brief intro about myself, right? I was born in the 80s, grew up in the 90s, grew up in Washington, D.C., and in and around my adolescent years, I started getting involved with illegal activity. I started breaking the law, gambling, cutting class, carrying guns, and I ended up with 2 felonies throughout the course of my earlier years in life. And only by the grace of God and many, many prayers from my mother and others that I've survived that season in my life, and I've been able to make a successful turnaround and be a productive member of society today. And I like to preference my story especially so that people will always know it's not about where you start, it's about where you're going, it's about how you finish. And the same rings true for our ancestral hero, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. This young man made a commitment early on in his life that it's not about where he started, it's about where he was going that was more important. And that commitment allowed it to translate outside of himself into others and inspire others as well to get behind the civil rights movement and continue to support the positive outcomes and expectations that he had for manifesting this dream into reality even into today, right? So without further ado, right, what we want to do is we want to honor this man, we want to honor his life, and we want to honor his legacy, because those are the things that we all still benefit from today. Now, Dr. King, he started off with a commitment, right? Now, there's nothing in this world that you could do without first being committed first. Hello, see, you gotta be committed to the process in your mind before you actually take action. How many times have we, both you and I, had ideas that we thought about, but when you thought about it long enough, your mind rejected it because you were not committed to the process in your mind, so physically you didn't do anything. So even though you thought about it, you might have talked about it, you might have gave somebody else a piece of your mind, told them your idea, told them your plan, told them all of these grand ideas and moves that you gonna make, and you ain't do nothing. Hello, you ain't do nothing because you wasn't committed. What we know that Dr. King was committed to the movement, because not only did he make up his mind to do something, I'm sure he told other people around him, but he actually took action and stayed committed and stayed down on it until it came into fruition. The word commitment is the state of being emotionally or intellectually devoted as to a belief, course of action, or another person. His belief was that all men are created equal. His course of action was we in our community, we're going to organize and mobilize in a way and stay devoted to one another until now we multiply and magnify strong enough that we can't be denied. This man was 25 years old when he became a pastor, family. 25 years old. Can you imagine what most of us were doing at 25? At 25, I was still carrying a gun. Hello, I caught my last felony at 26 years old. So I still was carrying a gun at 25. So many more people right now at 25 strung out on drugs, strung out on alcohol, 3, 4, 5 kids, never been married, in jail right now, poor health, right? Can't keep a job, right? Sex abuser, pedophile, so many things that people have challenges with mentally that manifests itself externally, from the internal to the external, but they never launch. They never get off the porch and actually start making moves until later on in their life when they come home from jail maybe, or when they kids are grown, or kids out of school, or kids then left college now you feel like you can start doing something of significance because you done committed and dedicated your life to your kids. No, at this point in time, Dr. King had already made a decision to dedicate his life toward the advancement of colored people first and foremost, and ultimately to the advancement of all people. And this is something to be commended, acknowledged, and notified. So you talking about a man who's 25 years old. In most instances, or in many instances, he was leading people above his age bracket, right? He wasn't only leading people that was in his same age group. This man had enough commitment in his spirit that translated outside of him into elders as well, that they believed in him, that they allowed him to lead them into the promised land, or what was considered the promised land, meaning forward and out of psychological bondage and out of the racism and the Jim Crow South in a way that allowed them to continue to be suppressed. So we have to commend that, and we have to acknowledge the advancements that were made because of the commitment that this man had. The second thing is leadership, family. See, leadership, or a leader, is a person who rules, guides, or inspires other people, right? A leader is someone who rules, guides, or inspires other people. You know, ever since I was young, my mother always said that. She always said, Jabbar, you a leader, right? It ain't about what nobody else gonna do, it's about what you gonna do. I didn't understand the definition of the word when she would say it, but I knew that she knew what she was talking about because she would say it with so much conviction. And she would say it so often that I knew she was committed to that belief about me. So she said it so much that I started believing in myself, right? I started to realize that I was a person who could rule and guide and inspire other people, but I first had to learn how to rule, guide, and inspire myself. Hello, see, I had to learn how to guide myself first well enough so that others now can see my leadership ability or skills working on me, and now they will believe in my leadership skills and ability to work for them. Dr. King did the same thing, right? Dr. King did the same thing with his life. Once he made his commitment, then he assumed the position of being a leader, and he exemplified many leadership qualities. One of those leadership qualities being a visionary, right? A person of unusual keen foresight, right? This man knew how to organize some of the most impactful movement moments of history, really, right? Like the Greensboro sit-in of 1960, right? He had the Freedom Ride of 1961, the Birmingham Children's Crusade of 1963, right? Some of these community events and activities weren't even publicized, right? The ones that we know about, but it was a lot of them that weren't publicized back in the 50s and the 60s. So we gotta be even more uplifting and acknowledging of the amount of energy and effort that it took. Dr. King didn't have social media, right? He didn't have Instagram where a person could just go right in their pocket and connect with somebody all the way across the world. He didn't have Facebook. He didn't have Twitter, X. He didn't have LinkedIn. He didn't have YouTube. What he had was a commitment. What he had was a vision, right? What he had was leadership in his mind and in his heart. And what he had was faith. That man knew in order for him to be successful in his mission, he had to get rooted in faith. This is where the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King comes in there, right? This man knew that he wanted to become a pastor from the onset because he knew the only way for him to be successful is he would have to exercise a degree of faith. Do you know that this man organized over 10 plus national protests, right? This man was an organizer. He organized over 10 plus national protests, let alone we can't even get most of us to do anything locally. We can't get you to go vote for your local council member, your local congressman, right? We can't get you to go to the local PTA meeting, right? We can't get you to go to the local homeowners association meeting, yet and still this man organized 10 plus national protests. What is an organizer? An organizer is to cause oneself to act or live in an orderly or planned way. Right, so he organized himself, he organized his life, his church, he organized his movement so well that other people wanted to begin to attach themselves to the movement and be of assistance because he was going somewhere. Hello, see, that's what a visionary does. See, a visionary realizes that where I'm at today is not as important as where I'm gonna be at tomorrow. Whew, that's what a visionary does. Dr. King was a visionary. Still, hello, he's still a visionary even in his absence because the momentum and the ideology that he created is still living on through people like me and billions of other people. I'm not the only one, right? We see these notable historical facts and we get inspired and we get motivated and we get enthusiastic about what can be done if we get organized. Huh? Organization is a key component to any successful outcome. Let me repeat that again for you, family. What is an organizer? An organizer is to cause someone to act or live in an orderly or planned way. See, we got to begin to live and act in an orderly and a planned way. We the adults. And even if it's any young people watching this, we love you too. The young people want to see the adults act in an orderly and planned way. Hello, because what that does is that creates order for them. See, if you could do a thing, you could teach a thing. That's why it's important for us to do it first. That's why it's important for us to get organized first so that we can now teach others how to be organized. Check this out, family. Check this out, family. Dr. King organized the Montgomery bus boycott of 1955, the Albany movement of 1961, the Birmingham campaign of 1963. 1963 is when he wrote the letter from the Birmingham jail. This is a person who had vision. This is a person who was organized. He knew even when he was sitting in the can and sitting behind that wall that he still needed to exemplify the leadership qualities of a visionary and remain organized and keep the people organized so that the momentum of the movement wouldn't be dissipated. This man organized the March on Washington, the St. Augustine protest. He organized the March in Selma, Alabama, family. The Chicago Freedom Movement, the Meredith March Against Fear, the Poor People's Campaign in Washington, D.C. in 1968, and he organized the Memphis Station workers' strike. And this event was a prerequisite to him being assassinated, and he knew this, but yet and still it didn't stop him from staying committed to the vision that he had already believed with faith-filled leadership and continue to press on and move forward, right? Listen, before social media, Dr. Martin Luther King was the McDonald's of social justice. Right? He's the McDonald's of social justice. What does this mean? Now, when I was young, McDonald's used to have this signage up on top of their restaurants, right? You go into the drive-thru or you pull into the facility and it will have a sign that say over 1 billion served. Hello, it said over 1 billion served. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was the McDonald's of social justice because he got over 1 billion people that he done served with leadership empowerment and upliftment. Hello, don't never get it twisted. You got to make sure you keep your hand to your headline for this giant of a man. This man is not only a national hero, but an international hero. He's not only a national icon, but an international icon, not only from the way that he lived, but what he left behind. See, he left behind an ideology that now, nearly 60 years later after his demise, you can still stand on the principles and the values that he exemplified and now derive strength and motivation and focus from what has already been done by this man. Do you know that they got memorials in the United States, Jerusalem, England, Nigeria, just to name a few, for this man, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He didn't grow up in Jerusalem. He didn't grow up in England. He didn't grow up in Nigeria, right? He was born right here, homegrown in the United States of America. This is where he grew up at. This is where he planted his flag, planted his roots. But the impact was so monumental that other nations took notice and had admiration and respect and the utmost regard for this man, and we owe him just as much of that same sentiment. Listen, dog. Listen, y'all. Santa Claus ain't real, okay? Look, I know it's a hard pill to swallow, right? Look, Santa Claus ain't real. And why do you say this, Jabbar? So, when I was young, right, we were heartbroken when we found out Santa Claus wasn't real, right? But it was really your mother and your father going out working 2-3 jobs, working 10, 12, 15, 20 overtime hours per week to get a little extra money so that you can have a Christmas or so that you can have a good experience during Christmas time. But when you found out Santa Claus wasn't real, you didn't stop celebrating Christmas. Hello, when you found out Santa Claus wasn't real, you didn't stop celebrating Christmas. Why? Because Santa Claus and Christmas was never about Santa Claus. Christmas was about Christ, right? So it's the same way with Dr. King. Now, they released the MLK files, the JFK files, the RFK files. Listen to me, family. Don't send it to me. I ain't interested, right? The FBI been known to lie to us. The CIA been known to lie to us. The government been known to lie to us. It's called media propaganda, right? None of us were there with Dr. King, right? Because we ain't old enough. We wasn't a part of the civil rights movement. And the people who were there, who we don't know personally, we don't know the integrity of these people to even verify or validate in those documents that what they saying was true. We know J. Edgar Hoover didn't like the man, and we know that the organizations, the government organizations, petitioned that man to unalive himself. So the sadistic nature of some of these organizations and the people in them, we can't verify or validate that those documents are true, so don't even send them to me. The point I'm making is this: whether Santa Claus is real or not, that wasn't the purpose of Christmas. The purpose of Christmas is Christ, right? So because of the perceived imperfections, because we don't know if those documents are true, right? That doesn't excuse or absolve you from doing something with your life. The way Dr. King lived his life, that don't excuse you from not having to now pick up your mantle and take your cross and bear your responsibility and contribute to the movement, right? Christmas is about Christ. The movement wasn't about Dr. King. The movement was about equality, unity, empowerment, and freedom. And that's what we got to keep at the forefront, right? The movement wasn't about Dr. King, just like Christmas ain't about Santa Claus, right? Christmas is about Christ, just like the movement was about unity, upliftment, empowerment, and freedom, and justice for all. And this is what we got to keep on the forefront, family. Don't get distracted, right? See, normally when you see a circus, or when you hear that the circus is coming to town, you pay a ticket, you go to the circus, you go enjoy the show, you got your kid with you, you got your lady with you, you got your family with you, y'all sitting, y'all chilling, y'all enjoying the circus. The circus is entertaining. The circus is entertaining when you're watching it, right? But never do you sit in that seat and look down there inside of that show and say, man, I should go paint my face. I should go get on the trapeze. I should jump around on the trampoline. I should go and put on clown shoes and a big nose and put on and act silly just like those people in the circus. And I'm not down on nobody who work in a circus. I'm making my point, family. My point is this, right? A circus show is a public entertainment consisting typically of a variety of performances, acrobats, clowns, and often trained animals. Don't join the circus. Hello, don't join the circus like a clown or a trained animal being swayed and shifted in any way when somebody throws something out here in front of you. Stay focused. Stay focused, just like what Dr. King did. See, all of the times that they tried to knock this man off his pivot, all of the times that they tried to knock this man off his square, they tried to get this man distracted, they tried to get this man discouraged, they tried to intimidate this man to unalive himself. He didn't get distracted or unfocused. Imagine where we would be right now in 2025 if Dr. King got unfocused. They just talking about DEI now. We already had diversity, equity, and inclusion with the Civil Rights Act of 1964. We already had this already. So DEI is just a new term for what we already been using and what we already been doing years before. And the catalyst for that level of change was the man who we honoring in the tribute show today, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Listen, family, don't join the circus show. Let the clowns play in the circus. You watch it. Now check this out, man. The monkey and the banana, right? Monkeys chase bananas. Men chase their mission. Hello, I'm gonna say it again. Monkeys chase bananas. Men chase their mission. Listen, every now and then, right, when you want to get a monkey to do something, and I'm not calling nobody a monkey, I'm making my point, right? Every now and then when you want to get a monkey to do something, if they've been sitting around too long, you got to come out with a banana and you got to dangle the banana in his face, and you might have to throw it over here so he run over there and go get the banana, but you really wanted him to move from right here, right? The spot that the monkey was in, you either got tired of him sitting right there, and or he started to be in your way, and or he may have been getting close to something that you didn't want him to get close to, so you pull out the banana. The monkey and the banana, right? Monkeys chase bananas. Men chase their purpose. Men chase their mission. Don't go chasing a banana. And don't be one of these new monkeys chasing this new banana. And if you are, shame on you. But it's never too late to repent, to reverse course and get on your pivot and get focused on your mission. Hello. Listen, man. Don't allow anyone or any entity to give us the tools to tear down our own heroes. It's unnecessary. No matter what's being said, let this man rest in power. This man been resting for almost 60 years. Let Dr. King rest in power. He done his job. He done his work. Don't allow them to give us the tools and the resources to tear down our own heroes. No, use the tools and the resources that you have via this phone, via these digital devices, via this information age that we're in, where you can push a button and get an answer to any question that you have. Use this time, your talents, and your treasure to now build something for the kingdom of the Creator, so that as in heaven, so shall it be on earth by osmosis and transference of the Holy Spirit through you down here on earth. But you got to be focused in order to make that happen. And listen, Dr. King completed his work. The word completed means absolute, thorough. Hello, Dr. King completed his work, right? When you're looking at this man being 39 years old at the time he's been assassinated, right? At 39 years old, many of us still have yet to figure out what we want to do, who we gonna become, what commitment we gonna make, what woman we gonna marry, how many children we wanna have, what type of a company we wanna start, what type of a contribution we gonna make to the general public. So many of us are distracted by the wrong things. And this is one of the inspirations behind doing this lesson, because the man we talking about, still King, his message was not scattered, frayed, and unfocused. His message was direct, it was straightforward, and it was organized. And he was committed on bringing his message into fruition. And we all should be grateful that he did, because we're still benefiting from the fruits of the labor of this man, even almost 60 years later. Dr. King completed his work. Dr. King ultimately sacrificed his life for the advancement of the people, right? Sacrifice, what does that word mean, family? The act of giving up something highly valued for the sake of something that was considered to have a greater value or claim. The man sacrificed his life. He gave up his life because what he assumed is the greater value of what he was accomplishing by not unaliving himself, by not stopping the movement, was worth the sacrifice. Let's have a moment of silence. The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King gave up his life for something else considered to have a greater value or claim. This man committed the totality of himself to the movement, not only of black people, but of all people, to unify, to collectivize, to edify, uplift, and empower one another, and to be judged by the content of your character and not the color of your skin. And we should all be grateful for the dedication and the commitment of this man. See, you're not excused from class, right? Just because you make an excuse, that don't mean that you excused from class, right? Just because you give an explanation offered in defense of some fault or offensive behavior, or as a reason for not fulfilling an obligation, what's your obligation to, first of all, to yourself? Then secondarily, what's your obligation to your family? Then thirdly, what's your obligation to the people in your community? And then fourthly, what's your obligation to the people in your country, right? Especially the men. We gotta cut the excuses, fam. You got reasons and results. You can have all the reasons in the world why you didn't get the result you wanted, but the outcome is you still didn't get the result you wanted. Just because you give an excuse, it don't mean that you're excused from class. Stay focused. And what's your contribution, right? What part are you gonna play that's gonna bring about a constructive result that we all can benefit from? We know what Dr. King did, right? We know what the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King did, right? He helped get the Civil Rights Act of 1964 passed. He helped get the Voting Rights Act of 1965 passed, right? He helped with the Fair Housing Act. His energy and efforts helped to inspire the Fair Housing Act of 1968, right? The mentality of a nonviolent approach and learning how to communicate. Dr. King was a masterful communicator. Communication ruled the nation. Dr. King was a masterful communicator. Do you know, had he deferred the level of communication that he showed and chose to quote unquote fight fire with fire and meet violence with violence, we wouldn't be talking about him today. But this man understood the power of nonviolent communication and knew how to convey that message so effectively that he ultimately achieved the outcome that he set out to do. And that example is inspiring billions of people years after his untimely death. I'm telling you, Dr. King was the McDonald's of social justice, right? McDonald's served over 1 billion. We know Dr. King has influenced over 1 billion people, right? It's 300+ million people in the United States of America, and everybody in our country knows who this man is. See, Romans 3:4 tell us, let God be true and every man be a liar, as it is written that you may be justified in your words and prevail when you are judged. Tell the truth and shame the devil. Stand on the truth. Dr. King knew the truth was that we all created equal. Dr. King knew the truth was that a nonviolent approach would now dissipate some of the energy and redirect the focus not on what we're doing, but on what's being done to us, which is injustice and inequality. Let God be true and every man be a liar. Dr. King got rooted in his faith first and foremost because nothing worth doing can be done to the max without you being grounded and rooted in faith. Because God has to get the glory and everything needs to be reciprocated and recirculated back to the commitment in the Creator, because all that we do should be for the glory of the Most High in the first place. And Dr. King understood this, and ultimately he left a legacy behind, right? A legacy is that which is inherited, a title, property, or estate that passes by law to the heir on death of the owner. He left us a legacy of social justice. We inherited the momentum of the social justice movement that the civil rights era created, and it was spearheaded by this giant of a man, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. So look, family, make sure that you guys like, share, and subscribe to the Manhood Mentor on all social media platforms. Click that QR code up at the top left-hand corner. Get on the waiting list for the Manhood Mentor Agency, where we're going to provide tools and resources for you to be more successful into adulthood. Make sure that you guys tag a friend, tell a friend about the program, share it out to as many people that you can, and continue to stay positive, continue to stay unified, edified, uplifted, and empowered. And until the next time, you know what I say. I'm the one to tell you get your mind right, then I tell you get your grind right, then I tell you that you're going to get your shine right, then I tell you that you're going to end up in the limelight. Until the next time, family, remember that the present is a gift. Hello.